Buy Sri Lanka's best internet package for online learning and online working with many amazing offers. Call 1212 for more information. Sri Lanka Telecom.
ලෙන්ගතුකම වැඩි කරගන්න ලව්ජු රුපියල් 50ට අඩු කළා.
මාමේ එන්න අපිට එකක් බොමු.
Tonight on The Edge, Minuwangoda cluster breaches 2,000, but the Government Medical Officers Association insists that it is still not community transmission. Taking the pressure off, more measures taken to prevent virus spread with one eye on public convenience. Heroes and villains. Zahran and his cohorts had planned a 3-stage wave of attacks with 20 bombers, while former President Sirisena tells this to PCOI that his instructions to officials was to play nice. Retrospective wisdom. Former Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe concedes that the FCID was not legal. All that and much more coming up on First at 9, this Saturday the 17th of October 2020.
Nava sunlight sakura. Then Dikukal Pavatina Sakura Mal Suandin.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhamike Kanaka. Let's start you off with by taking a look at the local COVID-19 situation. Now, a special operation has been launched to trace the origin of the Minuwangoda COVID-19 cluster, which surged past the 2,000 mark today. Questions were raised about how the virus came to be at the Minuwangoda garment factory. Authorities moved to reverse their decision on the source of the present outbreak as they revealed that the first patient reported from the cluster may not in fact be the real patient zero as previously thought. Meanwhile, addressing media, the Government Medical Officers Association stressed that the present virus situation still cannot be classified as a community transmission stage.
The Minuwangoda apparel factory COVID-19 cluster, Sri Lanka's newest, saw an increase today with 115 new infections being confirmed, sending the total of the cluster to 2,019. According to the National Operations Centre for the Prevention of COVID-19, 24 of the fresh infections are from quarantine centres and the other 91 are associates of the factory employees. Meanwhile, the total number of infections reported in the country since the first outbreak in March has increased to 5,475, and out of them only 2,067 patients are currently under treatment. According to the epidemiology unit, 3,395 people have been given the all clear to return to their daily lives.
දැන් අපි දන්නවා මේ ලංකාවේ විවිධ ප්‍රදේශවලින් හමු වෙච්ච කොවිඩ් රෝගීන් හැම කෙනෙක්ම මේ මිනුවන්ගොඩ බ්‍රැන්ඩික්ස් පොකුරට සම්බන්ධ වුණා. එතකොට අපිට තියෙන ප්‍රශ්නේ තමයි බ්‍රැන්ඩික්ස් ආයතනයේට මේ වෛරසය ආවේ කොහෙන්ද කියලා. ඉතින් අන්නේ කාරණේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් අපි සෞඛ්‍ය විශේෂඥයින්ගේත් අදහස් අරගෙන විමර්ශනයක් පවත්වනවා. ඒක ආරම්භ කරලා තිනවා. විශේෂයෙන්ම අපේ බුද්ධි අංශ රාජ්‍ය බුද්ධි සේවය මේ සඳහා ක්‍රියා කරනවා, පොලිසිය ක්‍රියා කරනවා. ඉතින් අනිත් ඒවා ඔක්කොම එකට සම්බන්ධ වුණාට තාම මේ වෛරසය ආපු මූලාශ්‍රය ගැන අපිට හොයාගන්න බැරි වෙලා තියෙනවා.
Meanwhile, the number of infections emerging from the subcluster of Minuwangoda apparel factory, the Katunayaka Free Trade Zone, rose to 180 with the confirmation of 45 cases. On another development, an employee of another leading garment factory in Nittambur has also contracted COVID-19. In Colombo, 2 employees of the Colombo dockyard have also contracted the virus. The section where the duo worked was temporarily shut down as soon as their infections were confirmed. They were identified as residents of Batuwatta in Ragama and Kitulampitia in Gaul. The infected person from Kitulampitia had taken a train from Colombo to Gaul on Thursday the 15th. He had reached Gaul at around 7:10 p.m. and had been to a supermarket near the Gaul railway station. He had been subjected to a PCR test since his friend had been diagnosed with COVID-19 and the results had returned positive. The infected person's wife and their 2 children have been admitted to the Karapitia hospital for quarantine purposes. The wife, who is also a nurse by profession, is employed at the same hospital. In the meantime, a woman who was receiving treatment at the intensive care unit of the Kuliyapitiya Teaching Hospital has also contracted COVID-19. As a result, measures were taken to temporarily shut down the intensive care unit and another ward. Subsequently, 32 members of staff, including the doctors, were quarantined. Elsewhere in Kimulapitiya, an area resident was vocal and aggressive towards public health inspectors who had been conducting PCR tests at a ground in the area.
හරි ඔයා කාටද කියන්නකෝ ඔයාලා කියන්න ඔයාලා හරි ඒක අපිට කියන්න දන්නේ නැහැ ඔයා වෙන කෙනෙකුට කියන්න ඔයාලා තමයි කියන්න වෙන අපිට කියන්න බෑ අපිට කියන්න අපි මේ වැඩ කටයුතු කරන්න ඕන මෙතන ඔයා කියන පොලිසියට පැමිණිලා තාම
ප්‍රදේශයේ කීප දෙනෙක් අපිට විරෝධතාවයක් දක්වුවා මේ ස්ථානයේ PCR පරීක්ෂණය සිදු කරන්නට එපායයි මොකද ඔවුන්ට කොරෝනා වෛරසය ආසාදනය වෙන්න පුළුවන් කියන අදහසේ ඒගොල්ලෝ ඉන්නවා. ඉතින් අපි මේ සියලුම සෞඛ්‍ය ආරක්ෂිත විධිවිධාන යොදලා තමයි අපි PCR පරීක්ෂණය සඳහා සාම්පල් ලබා ගැනීමේ කටයුතු සිදු කරන්නේ.
In another development, 2 passengers on an SLTB bus on the Matugama-Aludgama route, which travels via Yatadola, attempted to assault the bus conductor. The duo was agitated when the bus conductor asked them to wear the face masks properly.
මේක ඉතින් මට විතරනේ පස්සේ කියන අනිත් අය විරුද්ධ වෙන්නේ එවනම් මම මෙතන ඉහට පස්සේ යන්නේ මොමෙ හරිද ඕන්න ගණන් එහාට ඒ මොකද ඔයා ඉන්නේ ඔයා පැත්තට ගන්න ඕන්න එක මගේ අතේ තියෙන්නේ
In a separate development, the PCR test results of the employees at the Colombo Municipal Council, including its councillors, have returned negative. They were subjected to PCR tests due to a co-worker testing positive for the virus. In the meantime, the Government Medical Officers Association insists that the present situation still cannot be classified as a community transmission stage.
සමහරු දැන් අහනවා මේ සමාජ ව්‍යාප්තියක් දක්වා ගිහිල්ලාද කියලා. නෑ තාමත් අපිට එහෙම සමාජ ව්‍යාප්තියක් කියන නිර්වචනය ඇතුළට දාන තරමට රෝගී දරුණු වෙලා නෑ සමාජය තුළ. ඇත්තටම මේ වසංගත රෝග විද්‍යාංශය විසින් මේ වෙනකොට අලුතෙන්ම නිකුත් කරලා තියෙන සිතියමට අනුව සෞඛ්‍ය වෛද්‍ය නිලධාරී කොට්ටාස 340න් ඇත්තම රතු කලාප විදිහට නම් කරන්න පුළුවන් අවදානම තියෙන්නේ 25ක 30ක වගේ. තියෙන හොඳම ක්‍රමය තමයි කුඩාම ඒකකයේ තමයි අපි සංචරණ සීමා පනවන්න ඕන. කුඩාම ඒකකයේ ග්‍රාම නිලධාරී කොට්ටාස වීම හරහා ඒතකොට ග්‍රාම නිලධාරී කොට්ටාස මට්ටමින් අපි හඳුනා ගන්න ඕනේ අවදානම කොහෙද තියෙන්නේ කියලා. ඒ හරහා සමස්ත රටට වෙන බලපෑම අඩු කරගන්න පුළුවන්. දැන් අපි දකිනවා ඒක යම් මට්ටමකින් සිද්ධ වෙනවා. නමුත් ඒක ප්‍රශස්ත විදියට සිද්ධ වෙනවා කියලා අපි සතුටටපත් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. අපි තක්සේරු කළා ඒ අනුව ප්‍රාදේශීය වශයෙන් මේ ලොක්ඩවුන්ස් වලට ගියේ නැත්නම් රටම ලොක්ඩවුන් කිරීමේ අනතුරක් ඉදිරියේදී මතුවෙන්න පුළුවන්.
Safeguard hand sanitizer නවතම නිෂ්පාදන පෙළ නිරෝගීමත් දිවියකට.
Now, the Apeksha Hospital in Maharagama said today that all measures necessary have been taken to ensure that its patients and staff are kept safe from COVID-19. Meanwhile, the Airport and Aviation Services said that all passengers leaving the country are required to undergo a mandatory PCR test within 72 hours of their departure time.
The Department of Motor Traffic that was closed temporarily to the public due to the risk brought on by the rise in coronavirus numbers will reopen from Tuesday the 20th of October in order to minimize the inconvenience caused to the public. The department will resume operations with a limited number of staff while adhering to the health and safety laws and guidelines. Accordingly, all persons who expect to obtain the services provided by the Department of Motor Traffic are requested to contact its officers between 8:30 am and 3 pm on weekdays and make an appointment in advance. This can be done for registration of motor vehicles, issuance of driving licenses and number plates, and for the issuing of reports on vehicle inspection. The department says that no service will be provided outside the said procedure for any purpose. The Department of Motor Traffic can be contacted via the 2 telephone numbers 011-285-2095 and 011-285-2868. In the meantime, it will be mandatory for all passengers leaving the country to undergo a PCR test within 72 hours of their time of departure. The Airport and Aviation Services announced today that this measure will be effective from tomorrow. Meanwhile, taking the country's current COVID-19 situation into account, spokesperson of the Archdiocese of Colombo, Reverend Father Dr. Camillus Fernando, said that Mass will not be held tomorrow and on the 25th of this month within the Archdiocese. He, however, said that weekday masses, wedding masses and funeral rites can be held as usual on weekdays while strictly adhering to the health and safety guidelines and with the participation of a limited number of people. In other developments, the Interprovincial Bus Owners Association, the Lanka Private Bus Owners Association, the All Ceylon Private Bus Owners Association, and the Southern Provincial Bus Owners Association have made 6 demands. Chief among them are a 50% fuel subsidy, the leasing facility given over the last 6 months to be extended for the next 6 months at the same interest rate, the drivers, conductors, and passengers to be included in a COVID-19 insurance scheme, and a revision of the bus timetable. Director of the Lady Ridgeway Children's Hospital, Dr. G. Vijaysurya, meanwhile, says that even though the hospital is open to all patient care services, only one person will be allowed to accompany a child to the hospital and that all visiting hours have also been limited. Meanwhile, the director of the Apeksha Hospital in Maharagama elaborated on the measures taken by the hospital to ensure the safety of its patients.
මේ රෝහලේ නේවාසික රෝගීන් 1100ක් පමණ ඉන්නෝ. ඒ වගේම දිනකට OPD ලෙඩ්ඩු ක්ලිනික් සායන රෝගීන් 800ක් විතර පැමිණෙන්නෝ. ඒ අයගේ ප්‍රතිශක්තිය අඩුයි. ඒ කියන්නේ රෝගවලට ඔරොත්තු දීමේ හැකියාව අඩුයි. ඒ හින්දා අපි ඒ අය පරිස්සම් කරන්න අවශ්‍ය පියවර අරන් තියෙනවා. විශේෂයෙන් ඇතුල් වෙන හැම දෙනාගේම උෂ්ණත්වය බලනවා. ඒ වගේම මුව ආවරණයක් පැන්දගත යුතුයි. ඒ වගේම ජීවාණු හරණය කරලත් හොදලා තමයි ගන්නෙ. සමහර විට අපිට සායනයේදී 800ක් ඉන්නකොට අඩුම ගානේ ඒකෙනත් එක තව කෙනෙක් එනවා. ඒතකොට 1600ක් ඒ අය මීටර එක පරතරේ තියන්න අමාරුයි. ඒක ප්‍රායෝගික නැහැ. ඒකට වෙන විකල්පයක් නැහැ. මොකද ලෙඩාට තනියම ඉන්න කියන්නත් බෑ. ඒරම අනිත් හැම තැන්වලම පුද්ගලයන් අතර පරතරේ මීටරයක් තියන්න කටයුතු කරලා තියෙනවා. සියල්ලගේම රෝගීන්ගේ ඉතිහාසය අහනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ කොහින්ද ආවේ ඒවා අපි ඇතුල් වෙනකොට බලනවා. ඒ වගේම සැක කටයුතු සසන ලක්ෂණ සහිත රෝගියෙක් ආවොත් වාට්ටු අංක 21 වෙන් කරලා තියෙනවා. ඒ අයව නවත්තලා තියලා PCR පරීක්ෂණය කරලා අවශ්‍ය සායනයට යොමු කරන්න. ඒ වගේම දිනකට කාර්ය මණ්ඩලෙත් ඒ අවදානම් ප්‍රදේශ වලට ගිය අය හරි එහෙම නැත්නම් සසන ආබල් තියෙන අයගෙත් PCR පරීක්ෂණ දිනපතා කරනවා. ඒ වගේම අහඹු ලෙස සෞන්දර්ය ඉඳන් හැමදාම අහඹු ලෙසත් කාර්ය මණ්ඩලයේ 10 දෙනෙක්ගේ PCR පරීක්ෂණය කරන්න කටයුතු කරලා තියෙනවා. ඒ වගේම අපි කටයුතු කරලා ක්ලිනික් වල සෙනඟ අඩු කරන්න දැන් මාසයකටයි බෙහෙත් දෙන්නේ. දැන් මාස 3කට හැකි අවස්ථාවලදී දෙනවා. සමහරට ස්ටොක්ස් නැත්තම් මාස 2කට දෙනවා. එතකොට ක්ලිනික් ලෙඩු ගන්න අඩු වෙනවා ලබන සතියේ ඉඳන්. ඒ වගේම අපි ඖෂධ තැපෑලෙන් යවන්න මේ තැපැල් සානදපති කතා කරලා දැන් කටයුතු යොදලා තියෙන්නේ. සියලුම අමුත්තන් සීමා කරලා තියෙනවා. අවසර පත්‍රයක් ඇතුව එක ලෙඩෙකුට දවසට එක අමුත්තයි එන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ වගේම ලෙඩා ගාවට ගිහින් දෙන පරිත්‍යාග දාන ඒවා සහ මුලින්ම නවත්තලා තියෙන්නේ. කාටවත් ඇතුළට වෙන්න බෑ.
In another development, the cooperative wholesale establishment said today that although some people are right in their claims that the Satosa outlets don't have adequate food stocks for sale, it is a direct result of people stockpiling goods. Its director of wholesale, Nushad M. Pereira, therefore also highlighted concerns, especially pertaining to speedy sugar sales, casting doubt over its true purpose.
We will see you shortly after this break. Stay tuned.
Ceylon Bank, the bank with a heart.
Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now, various details never before released was revealed before the Presidential Commission probing these 2 attacks when an officer of the Counter-Terrorist Investigation Division testified before it under the condition of anonymity. He said that early designs of the attackers involved 20 attackers and the plan being to execute a wave of attacks under 3 phases, even targeting people fleeing from the initial blasts and those being hospitalized. An officer of the Counter-Terrorist Investigation Division gave evidence before the Presidential Commission of Inquiry probing the 2019 Easter spate of terror yesterday. His testimony was full of new information which had not been released into the public domain. The unnamed officer said that by March in 2019, there was a leadership struggle between leader of the National Tawhid Jamaat, Zahran Hashim, and Naufar Maulavi, and that Kochikade shrine attacker Alauddin Ahmad Muad and Dahibullah bomber Mohammed Jamil had mediated in resolving the issue in March. The resolution talks had been held on the 27th of March in 2019 at Zahran's safe house located on the Paratta Road in Banadura. The State Council asked the witness as to what was discussed during the meeting. The unnamed officer said, quote, "They have a Shura Council. It has 13 members. They are the leaders of the group. During the talks, Milhan had submitted 19 wrongs of Zahran, calling for Zahran's removal from leadership and it to be given to Naufar Maulavi. Zahran had said that he is not wrong. They had also decided not to betray each other to security units and to divide their property. Shangri-La bomber Ilham had however said at the Shura Council that he didn't give money for the group, but out of devotion to Zahran. He had said that if need be, a house, a vehicle, a weapon can be given to Nafar Maulavi. Zahran had said that the attack on a mosque in New Zealand and the attacks in Syria should be retaliated. Zahran had also said that hotels, casinos and churches most frequented by foreigners should be attacked, unquote. The State Council then asked as to what timeframe they had in mind in launching the attack. To that, the officer of the Counter-Terrorist Investigation Division replied, quote, Zahran had said that the bombs are made by Rilwan and those explosives expire in 15 days, so an extended time cannot be assured. As such, the attack should be launched within 15 days. The Negombo region was proposed for this. Then Ahmed Muath had said that the Kochikade shrine is near his house and he will commit suicide there. They had also discussed about launching the attack with the use of 20 persons. What's more, they had planned a wave of attacks in 3 stages, targeting those fleeing and those being hospitalized, unquote. It has been revealed that a date for the attack had not been determined even by the 24th of March. The chairman of the commission asked the witness whether there had been any mention of an attack outside Colombo during the discussion. The unnamed officer said, quote, It was not during this meeting that it was discussed. Following the meeting, Muath had gone to Nuerelia and scouted locations where there are foreigners and had proposed an attack. But they had become afraid of it and had abandoned it, unquote. In the meantime, 4 persons who had direct links with the Shangri-La and Cinnamon Grand bombers, the Ibrahim brothers, were produced before court today. They were produced by the Organised Crime Branch of the Colombo Crime Division before the No. 4 Magistrates Court at the Hulsdorf Court Complex. Investigations had been conducted while the 4 suspects had been held under detention orders for 18 months. The suspects had ordered 12,000 swords for distribution in Sri Lanka, and they had been arrested when preparing to distribute 600 of them following their importation. The Colombo Crime Division told the court that they had found 2.5 million rupees from a bank account intended to be used in purchasing chemicals required for bomb making. What's more, 21 bombs had also been found from the possession of the suspects. The chief suspect among them, Shikhar Fakhtar, had maintained close links with the Ibrahim brothers, and he had also attended their training camps and lectures. After considering the facts, the magistrate ordered that the suspects be remanded until the 23rd of October. In the meantime, a van used by a suspect who is in remand custody with regards to these 2 attacks was arrested by the Criminal Investigation Division of Batiklo from the area of Rizvinagar in Kathankudi. The suspect had been arrested on the 25th of April in 2019, and the van in question is reported to be his property. In the meantime, former President Maithripala Sirisena yet again appeared before the Presidential Commission of Inquiry probing the Easter Sunday terror attacks today. He rejected the allegation that he attempted to make the former IGP the scapegoat following the massacre. Former President Sirisena also rejected the testimony of the former Defence Secretary, where he said he was asked by the head of state not to attend the meeting chaired by then Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe in the immediate aftermath of the attacks. The former president insisted that his instructions were in fact to work together. Former President Maithripala Sirisena was asked by the Additional Solicitor General at the Presidential Commission probing these 2 attacks that isn't it wrong not to appoint an acting Minister of Defence when he left the country on the 16th of April last year, especially in the backdrop of intelligence units reporting that incidents of Lord Buddha statue vandalism in Mavanella, discovery of explosives in Vanathavillua and Zahran Hashim's jihadi ideologies. The witness responded, quote, Though those incidents had happened by the time I left the country, no one had warned of an act of terrorism within the country. Since 2015, I had given instructions on what measures need to be taken on extremism. This information wasn't first received on the April 20th. This foreign intelligence had been received before that. If I wasn't in the country, the President's Secretary could have been informed, since had that happened, he would have notified me instantly. The error here is not informing, since even the documents on imposing emergency regulations is also done by the President's Secretary, unquote. When the Commission asked the former President whether internal issues of the government prevalent during his tenure played a part in officials being reluctant to make decisions, the former President rejected the notion. The Additional Solicitor General then put to the witness that the country's second citizen, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, called a meeting when the initial blasts happened on the 21st of April, and evidence has been submitted that the witness had instructed the President's Secretary, the Defence Secretary and other officers to refrain from attending that meeting. The Additional Solicitor General therefore asked former President Sirisena as to why he gave such instructions. The former president's reply to that was, quote, "No, I did not give such instructions. What I said was to work together." Unquote. When the Additional Solicitor General asked whether he took measures over his instructions not being enacted, the former president said that question arises as to how many state officials will be left if action is taken against their dereliction of duty, weaknesses and mistakes. The Additional Solicitor General asked the witness whether he would accept if he said that Zaharan sank and Namal Kumara rose after the portfolio of law and order was taken over by the witness. To that, former President Sirisena replied, quote, "I in no way accept that statement, since a person called Namal Kumara was not even discussed at the National Security Council. I don't know, seen or spoken with a person called Namal Kumara." Unquote. When the Additional Solicitor General asked the witness whether he told former IGP Pooja Jayasundara that even the Malalgoda Committee report will be altered if the IGP takes responsibility over the failure to prevent the attacks, former President Sirisena said it's an utter lie. The Additional Solicitor General then asked the witness, quote, "If evidence has been submitted before the Commission saying that the series of explosions on the 21st of April in 2019 happened because the National Security Council did not give due attention to acting against extremism, would you accept it?" Unquote. The reply of former President Sirisena was, quote, "No, I reject it completely. What has happened here is that relevant sections has not acted on the received information, not enacting the instructions given over the years. They have not reported anything on such an attack. The Navy intelligence operated strongly in the eastern areas, but no one updated me on the dry run the terrorists did on the 16th of April, blowing up a motorcycle in the area of Talankuda." Unquote. Now, former Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe gave a nonchalant response when it was put to him that the Inspector General of Police did not have the power to establish the Financial Crimes Investigation Division under the government of good governance. He thus conceded that the FCID was in fact illegal when he appeared before the Presidential Commission of Inquiry probing alleged incidents of political victimization.
Former Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe appeared before the Presidential Commission of Inquiry probing alleged incidents of political victimization last evening with regards to a complaint filed by former Additional Director General of the Department of Divinaguma and present Director General of Samurdhi, Bandula Tilakasiri. During the proceedings, the cabinet paper pertaining to the establishment of the Anti-Corruption Committee Secretariat was brought to the attention of the former Prime Minister by the legal counsel representing the complainant. The legal counsel said that the cabinet paper has given guidance on setting up a police unit to the ministerial secretary. He, however, made evident that the Gazette notification pertaining to the establishment of the Financial Crimes Investigation Division has not been issued by the ministerial secretary but the Inspector General of Police. In response, former PM Wickremesinghe said that the relevant power lies with the IGP. Afterwards, the legal counsel of the complainant quoted Section 55 of the Police Ordinance and emphasized that the IGP does not have power to establish a separate unit. To that, Wickremesinghe replied, quote, "They say the IGP can establish police divisions, but our cabinet paper does not mention the establishment of divisions and only mentions establishment of a secretariat pertaining to corruption." Unquote. The chairman of the commission then made evident that the IGP had established a unit under a power which he doesn't have. Former PM Ranil Wickremesinghe responded, quote, "I don't know about that. I remember they reported that the secretary does not have the power to do it, and only the IGP had the power to do it." Unquote. The legal counsel of the complainant then made evident that though the Gazette said the FCID was established under Section 55 of the Police Ordinance, that particular section of the ordinance does not accord such a power. The response of the witness was, "If there isn't power, there isn't."
We will see you shortly. Bear with us. Welcome back. This is First at 9. Now, former ambassador to the UAE President's Council, Sarath Vijayasinghe, launched his book, Foreign Policy Perspectives, Sri Lanka First, yesterday, which is the first of its kind since independence. Now, the book was presented to many dignitaries, including Speaker Mahinda Abeyewardene. Foreign Policy Perspectives, Sri Lanka First is a collection of 30 articles edited by former Ambassador Sarath Vijayasinghe and published by the Ambassadors Forum. The book contains contributions from some of the most distinguished academics, diplomats and professionals in Sri Lanka. The event was attended by a number of preeminent personnel. Now, Senior Superintendent of Police Nishantha De Souza has been appointed as the new Director of the Criminal Investigation Department. The position was previously held by SSP Prasanna De Alves. De Souza has been moved from the post of Director of Illegal Assets and Intellectual Property Investigation Unit at the Police Commission. A consignment of heroin weighing nearly 10 kilograms has been seized from the area of Kotikavatta. The haul was recovered based on a tip-off by a notorious underworld figure and a drug kingpin, Markandre Madhush, during interrogations. Madhush, who is currently on detention orders, was brought to the Colombo Crime Division yesterday for further interrogations. During interrogations, he had divulged information about a stock of narcotics kept hidden by another suspect in the custody of the Colombo Crime Division. Accordingly, Colombo Crime Division conducted a raid in the area of Kotikavatta this morning, which led to the discovery of the drugs haul. Now, oil prices edged lower yesterday, dragged down by concerns that a spike in COVID-19 cases in the United States and Europe will continue to drag on demand in two of the world's biggest fuel-consuming regions. Brent crude futures fell 23 cents to settle at $42.93 a barrel. The US West Texas Intermediate crude futures dropped 8 cents to settle at $40.88 a barrel. Brent rose 0.2% for the week, while the WTI was on track to gain 0.7%. And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.